Previously on the Novympia channel.
South African.
Significant. And coming up, the dullest thing you will ever listen to, ever. And we've got Jerry Halliwell schizophrenic downstairs.
I find you very rude.
The Novympia channel is made possible by our gorgeous patrons who get access to the most unappealing crap you'll find anywhere on the whole internet. Cue the snafu!
Oh my god, it's 2024. First video of the year.
Oh my god, I didn't even thought about
that. And we're force feeding you more Eurovision content.
I think it's important to note, well, we'd like to assure you this is not becoming a Eurovision channel exclusively, but because DragCon's coming up, we thought, we're not going to get into full geesh. We want to just let our skin heal a bit.
Yes, last year we actually did not do a video for a fortnight around DragCon. So we're trying...
How lazy.
We're trying... Not lazy at all.
Yeah, it is very lazy.
We're trying not to leave you without content whilst we're busy doing DragCon, which, by the way, there are still tickets available. If you just Google it, it will come up. DragConUK. It's the 13th and 14th of January.
Yes, come and say hi.
Literally next weekend. We will be there at booth D27. But enough about that.
Enough about that. Go on, who cares? What about that?
Shut up! This was a video that we planned to do last year.
Nobody plans to do porn.
None of us have plans to do porn.
Once we catch wind that the UK's entry is on the horizon, just around the corner, let's do this video. Let's have a look back at the last 20 years of the UK's participation in Eurovision and rank our entries.
We could have done every song ever, that would have taken 2 hours, but the last 20 years, starting with Gemini, seems like a really excellent choice to start with. Because the last 20 years have been dire for the UK in Eurovision, and I feel like we knew it was bad. But what we've done is gone through every single sequentially and watched every single performance, and it is so much worse than I thought it was.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Like if it was an album, it would be now.
That's what I call
garbage.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It beggars belief that we had the nerve to do this year after
shite after steamy shite.
Steamy. And, you know, again, before we launch into it, if you are clicking on this, just maybe because it's us, which is very, very sweet, and you've got no idea what the Eurovision Song Contest is, then very, very briefly, it is an international song contest, which is put on every year annually by the EBU. Every country sends a song. There's like 30, 40 countries. And it's this whole big competition thing. It's like a 6-month season. That's why we really like getting into it. Because it's something to do waiting for death.
Conversely, if you are only viewing this video because you are a fan of Eurovision, we're Novympia. My name is Nova.
Oh yes, and I'm Olympia. Hello, welcome, yes.
And we're normally in drag.
I need something terrible.
And we are planning to do a lot of coverage this year, so if you like that, if you like what we have to say in this video, consider subscribing.
Subscribe. We never say that, do we? Enough of this. It's 3 minutes into it now, enough. So, yes, we have done very, very well up until the 21st century. We've won 5 times, which, you know, in terms of points, we're right up there. We've come second more than any other country. We have been quite a force. We've got our own individual lists, how we've ranked them. They're very, very similar.
They are very similar.
And we'll throw up at the end what our individual lists were, but we're going to kind of do a sort of joint thing here. And we both unanimously agreed that the single worst, most objectionable entry the UK has sent in the last 20 years was 2006 Daz Sampson Teenage Life.
Daz Sampson, when this came out, was a name I recognised, but I couldn't tell you why.
Prison, honey.
Wikipedia tells me that he was in a couple of groups that had a little bit of success in and around Europe, in and around the UK, and he was like a sports person. He was something to do with football. I don't know.
Fuck knows. Anyway, he's rapping. It's horrible. It's so creepy. He's up there.
Creepy.
He's a middle-aged man up there with a bunch of women dressed as schoolgirls. It's so creepy.
It's creepy. It gives me, I mean, I don't want to say anything too explicit, but it gives me kind of vibes like it's creepy. Don't get it.
The
don't
other
like
thing
it.
is, don't
the
get
baby
it.
voices,
Don't
the
want
backup vocalists
What
put on.
Did you learn at school today?
Gross.
Oh,
it's
God.
grim.
I think it's really objectionable that the man clearly does not have any interest really in the kind of genre he's entering into, because he's singing specifically about English British school life with an American accent. What? For why did he do that? And then had the nerve, he had the fucking gall at the end to say, vote for the music!
Thank you, vote for the music!
Well, no one's going to vote for you then.
The implication being that
if he doesn't get any votes, it's because it's all political.
What on earth? I don't want to talk about it anymore. Disgusting.
Awful.
Okay, who have you got next?
So I have 2015 next.
2015.
That's a personal thing, I suppose. We can
talk about that now, yeah. The thing is, it got to a point where... So 2015 is Electro Velvet, Still in Love with You. I've actually found it really, really difficult to rank. Halfway through, I had like a mini breakdown. And I was like, what exactly are we ranking? Like, what's my own personal favourite, or what was a better package at Eurovision? Because the criteria really started to degrade, and I was like, I don't know what I'm even ranking
Because the majority
anymore.
of it, it's like, which is your favourite turd?
They're all terror. It's literally like a lineup of bags of shit and asking you which one is better to serve on a platter. I don't know.
To Electro Velvet's credit, this just wasn't personally for me, and I don't think the song was very competitive.
Who was it for? Who is that song for?
I think they staged this well.
Yes.
It was fun staging, and their live vocals and live performance was consistent.
It was fine.
It was fine.
That's why I had this a lot higher up, because I thought that in terms of visually, they had a lovely outfit that lit up. There was some thought into it.
I just thought the song was so offensive in that it was so wrong. Shut up! On every level.
I can't see you, I'm turning blue, I'm still in love with drugs.
It wasn't commercial in any way, it wasn't on trend in any way, but it also wasn't different in a way that was interesting. This was like a fusion of swing music and electronic music, but it wasn't quite enough electronic.
It just wasn't cool, it was just awkward.
It kept jittering from one and the other as opposed to blending it a la the Gatsby soundtrack, the Baz Luhrmann Gatsby soundtrack. I feel it did a better job of what they thought they were doing.
Come over here, hun. We're on a vacation. No, we're not. We've been trafficked. Get on out this van.
Like that bang. Bang. That was a better...
There's nothing to it. No good.
Yeah.
Sorry. What? Who have you got next?
I have 2021 next.
Out of the embers, you and I gonna light up the room.
This was the second time the UK actually got 0, but this was probably more controversial because this is James Newman. I almost just don't even care about it. Like, it's James Newman. The song is called Embers.
0 points.
This poor fuck got 0 points in a redesigned voting system that was kind of designed for that to not happen. That's how bad this was. No, but was it that bad, or was it just so forgettable? So nothing.
Out of the embers.
So
Just farted it out, didn't they?
this was James's second song, and we'll talk about his 2020 song a bit later on because we rated that a lot better. James Newman is a singer-songwriter, predominantly songwriter. I don't think this is the kind of song he would normally keep for himself, and I feel like the BBC or whoever was in charge of our delegation that year really forced this on him. He looked miserable. He looked like he was being told, like held at gunpoint, to smile. Like it was such a forced smile. The styling was awful. He had no idea about Eurovision. In the promo and the interviews, he had no idea about the competition. I felt like he lost a bet. Like he had no interest in the competition.
And, he kind of we have this horrible thing, or we did at one point for a period, of sending a guy in a leather jacket. He's just standing there in like the ugliest
Really
leather jacket you've
awful
ever
leather
seen.
jacket as well, though.
One day everyone will be able to afford a luxury leather recliner.
And that day's this Thursday at Land of Leather's 50 million...
I mean, the vocal was fine. There was an interview with whoever did the staging, or a choreographer or someone, and they were asking about how it was going, and they were like, oh yeah, it'll get there. And you just think, like, it should already be there before you've even got to that point. I really dislike this song.
You could hear him straining. This song...
It's like an advert song.
Wasn't
Good.
atrocious, but it was dated. It was a good, 5 or 6 years too late.
I mean, they're sticking just some giant trumpets there, just to really hammer home that it's like a
the
farty
staging
trumpet
was
song.
really bad.
There's nothing redeemable about it really at all. Nothing. Next.
I actually had 2010 next.
You bring the sunshine. I'll bring the good.
I actually think this probably should have been a bit lower, if we're all being honest.
I think this is
shocking.
also partly because I just felt bad for him.
This is Josh DeBovie. What's it called?
That sounds good to me.
Oh, do you know what? It's when they send, like Nikki French sent a song called Don't Play That Song Again. It's like they're almost willing people to just like make fun of them.
Don't play that song again. The stars were bright when then.
That sounds good to me. Sounded anything but. He comes out in a suit. Again, it's so dated. It was produced by Pete Waterman. Hadn't had a hit song in decades at that point. So why were they doing this at this point?
Very strange.
He comes out in a suit, giving it all this.
How was this selected? Do
You
remember?
bring the good times.
Just add your laughter. It's happy ever.
Feel my soul slide out of my ass.
This was so cheesy, so dated. The staging was non-existent. The styling was just nothing.
It's just
And he couldn't sing this song.
I believe he has gone on record that he knew he was not able to hit the final note and he really tried to reason with them to change how he was going to sing it, and they were just like, no, you'll be fine, do it.
That sounds good to me.
not that that matters.
For the most part, it's like, you know, pleasant enough.
Fine, yeah.
And then he tries to hit this final note and it's so
Twice,
strange.
this note appears twice at the end of the song.
Yeah, twice, just to really hammer it home. I think they really had this awful habit of sacrificing these, like Molly, well, when we talk about Molly later on, is a similar vibe. Take people who are kind of like
Up and
unknowns, but, you know, they have something going for them, and they really sacrifice them because they kind of know that this isn't going to work, but it's like, oh, they're expendable because, like, no one really cares.
That's
And
it,
then
they're
these
treated
people
like they're expendable.
Then these people just kind of, like, really suffer as a result, and it doesn't go anywhere, which I suppose speaks to why they were like, well, Eurovision doesn't help people's careers, but certainly for a while in the UK, that was kind of the thing. Who's next?
Okay, after the next one, I think we're going to have like a little bit of maybe we're not.
Yeah, we
total
will do, because you've got one there that's far too low down.
Yeah, okay,
well,
but
okay, so...
I have 2003 next.
People are going to be so angry with this ranking because we've discussed all of these other ones and we're only now talking about Gemini. Love's not enough.
Okay, so this is Gemini with Cry Baby. I think this is probably one of the more infamous performances from the UK. If British people that don't like Eurovision, this is probably one of the ones they think of when they think of UK Eurovision acts.
Well, for a number of
this comes
reasons.
to mind.
For good reason. I think up until this point, we were very rarely outside the top 10. Let alone in the bottom 5. And not only were we last for the first time, we had 0 points for the first time. It was the first time an English song had ever received 0 points. And they were so spectacularly off key, which, having seen them perform this in the national final, I do believe that they couldn't hear themselves.
Something went wrong.
Because they're both,
something went wrong.
both of them are.
They're not bad singers. They're not great singers. They're not bad singers. They
For
have done this.
2003, perfectly competent.
They have done this perfectly competently before. Something went wrong. So I have to say they didn't let it read on their faces.
No. Hideous outfits. But again, we're talking about the context of 2003.
Yeah.
It's very, very 2003. The song is very 2003.
I think the song was good. It was just a bad performance on the night. This reminds me a lot of H and Claire, that became like a subunit when Steps broke up.
It's very
They
that.
were around for maybe like one album.
Hey, thank God.
Right around this sort of time, and the styling was very similar, this type of music was very similar. I felt like this was BBC trying to like send H and Claire even though they didn't want to go.
Again, like sacrifice a bunch of people that had no sort of music before that. It wasn't a terrible song. It was a very run-of-the-mill, perfectly average
There's a lot
song.
about this that I find
Forgettable.
like excusable and redeemable, even though it was diabolical. That's why it's not
The
at my
thing
bottom.
is, because she launches right into it. It's not like a slow build. It's the love's not enough. The second you hear that, you're just like, oh my God, what's happening?
And it goes on and she doesn't rectify it.
Well, there is a moment where she kind of fights it.
She grabs the harmonies.
She kind of gets it, and then she goes off again. I don't think that was really their fault. They were kind of sent...
Well, it's someone's fault.
It's someone's fault, but
Might be their fault.
We've had some really terrible vocals, and I choose to believe that in their situation, especially her, I think she wasn't a terrible singer, and she was...
Okay, now I'm up for debate. Who do you want to put next? Because this next one's definitely like a personal thing for me.
Well, I would say Suri is next.
Okay. That's 2018.
2018.
Surrey with Storms, which is another quite recent entry.
Now, I will say that I think I've been on podcasts and done some. We've spoken about Suri in the past, and I personally have probably been unfairly negative towards her.
We've never had any interaction with Suri, but we have had mutual contacts that have, and they have nothing but the highest praise for her. Apparently, she's a lovely, lovely woman. Eurovision darling.
Yeah, the staging for this was basically nothing. She had a kind of really pissy LED square behind her.
This was absolutely another case, and we've done this a few times, where we've sent something just for the sake of entering. Let's send it out to die. And just
again, it's not a bad song. I don't actually mind that song. It's just very kind of, it's a bit vanilla.
I hate the song.
There isn't the production was very
no way, no way.
I don't know, it just didn't seem like there was much production to it. I will say I love what she was wearing.
Yeah, styling was great.
The vocal was pretty good. Obviously it was hideous that she had a stage invader. There's this constant problem that the UK have where there's nothing particularly memorable about it.
It was so vanilla.
No way, no way.
Suri wasn't given anything on stage to elevate this. She was given a lovely outfit and then was kind of left to flounder amongst some neon lights.
And she's really trying to sell this as well. You can see she's given it all that. Like, she isn't really the problem. It's just that there's nothing really to sell. There's no sort of package there to push forward.
So
I would say that's why it's low, just because it's very, very forgettable.
Not good.
James Newman, My Last Breath is difficult to have in this list.
If we were deep sea divers,
so this
we never saw it.
This is 2020, which for those who don't know was a year that was cancelled because of COVID. And all we have of this is that I can find is a music video with a studio cut and a live lounge performance. This was much more his vibe.
This is his wheelhouse, and it's a nice. I actually really like this song. I think this this certainly would have had some points attached to it.
And the United Kingdom gets
3 points.
If it wasn't the naff party angle they went with in the end.
Embers is like. It gave me whiplash hearing that after hearing
diarrhea.
My Last Breath. Like, it's such a polar opposite song.
Deep sea divers. It's just not. I think it's a nice, pleasant
And also
thing.
like the hook. My last
breath. I mean, I don't actually think this would have done amazingly, but I think it certainly would have fared better than it had to have done. Isn't it? You can't have also got
There
zero.
was something quite thoughtful and sweet about this. I don't think it would have been staged very well.
No, because we can't stage.
But it had potential, so it's difficult to judge this because we never saw how it was presented at Eurovision.
Of these that we went through, which is how many is it? 21 in the end, is it? Because of the year thing. Of that group, I think there are 2, you could possibly argue 3 that were staged well.
Yeah.
It gets to this middle block where
it's all very much of a muchness.
There isn't really much to weigh one above the other because they're all just so forgettable. I would have Engelbert Humperdinck.
the hood will run deep. Love will set you free.
Engelbert Humperdinck, Love Will Set You Free. I would pay people money if they could sing that song, like off the top of their head. Does anyone remember how that goes?
So the reason why, we're splitting hairs here because it's very close. This is 2012.
Love will set you free.
And Engelbert Humperdinck is a established, famous, successful artist. Way before my time. I could not tell you a single song of his. No idea. But he's a name that I know.
Your grandmother probably threw knickers at him. We'd like to also point out, age is not the problem.
No.
Being dated is the problem.
I think there's a struggle. There's a fine line with an established artist. You're juggling classic and dated.
Yeah, Italy have a real skill, I think, as a country for towing that line, but always going with more kind of classic, traditional sounding stuff rather than dated. And we just can't, or we can't do that.
He gave a very good vocal. I think the song did not give itself any opportunity to do anything interesting visually.
No staging. There was nothing there to it at all. It was
exactly. So it was probably a very cheap production for the BBC to do, and they were just banking on his fame.
That's the insulting implication, is that the BBC clearly thought, oh, we're gonna throw votes at him because he was famous once.
Set me free.
Not for us.
He also went first, so fair dues. You know, the first slot is rough, but if you're not going to remember the first slot anyway, then fancy just sending him out in a suit and standing there doing nothing.
If you love someone.
I think that it would be good if we talk about Bonnie Tyler.
I put them very, very close together.
She's the same idea in that she's an artist who is kind of past her heyday. She's not releasing music that would really chart anymore.
But very established, very experienced.
A name.
Quite famous.
But I actually think the difference with this, there was maybe a bit of country in there. It sounded more classic, less dated to me. I thought this actually sounded quite nice. I didn't remember liking it at the time, but when we watched it back the other day, we were both of the opinion of like, this is actually quite a nice song.
I think she sang this very nicely. I struggle to like, with her and Engelbert, I struggle like to say which one is the best because I think they're quite on
I'd say she was clearly easily the best because again like I thought she wore a really bizarre outfit, but she at least kind of walked the sort of runway and she was interacting with the audience and
just
she
ultimately the song was boring,
selling it a bit. But again, let's not just rely on the name, but then they've stopped doing that.
It was
now.
a forgettable song though.
I'd say they'd stopped doing it now. It would appear that they've started doing it again this year. Okay, well you've got Joe and Jake, You're Not Alone, quite low on this.
So I had 2016, Joe and Jake, You're Not Alone.
Not alone. We're in this together. All that you want, I'm riding for
Just above Gemini, and this is a personal thing because they did a good job with this song. They performed this well. I hated everything about this.
You're not alone. We're in this together.
It's
so
very,
naff.
very safe. Again,
It's
some
so
guys
naff.
in leather jackets.
There's no originality, no innovation. Beyond safe, it was boring to the point where I found it offensive. It was so naff.
I think you're being a bit harsh on it.
I got a new video. I got a new.
Now,
That's just my personal taste.
Well, it's clearly not just your personal taste because it did come very low. Like, obviously, no one else was picking up the phone for it. It's a sweet song. Like, I think it's a very, very nice song. It's just incredibly derivative. And then they had nothing. They had no way of really punching it up because it was just kind of what it was. It might as well have been a performance on like the Graham Norton show.
Show them your asshole.
It's very reminiscent of Ireland last year.
Yeah,
like, what do you do
that's
with that?
true. What do you do with that? I mean, at least he had nice gold camel balls.
Looks like two.
Do you see the point we're trying to make where there's this whole swath of songs that's like, wow, it's not
It's
competitive,
not bad,
is it?
That's it. It's not competitive.
They're not bad.
It's not memorable.
They're not competitive. We've got past bad now. Oh, you know what we haven't mentioned yet, which I'm really annoyed about? I really begrudge with you having Scooch flying the flag that high up. That, to me, is ridiculous.
Well, we can talk about that. Did you want to talk about that now?
I'd like to talk about that now.
Okay, well, I've got 2007 Scooch flying the flag.
Excuse me.
A bit higher than Olympia.
When you see Nova's list at the end of this, you're going to claw your eyes out for some of these. Flying the flag makes my skin crawl. It gives me the shits.
This is another one. I would argue that this is maybe the most iconic, infamous entry we've had in the last, 20 years.
We've been living in fear, close to giving up. But if we die...
Anyone who knows the UK Eurovision is familiar with this. People that do fancy dress Eurovision parties, there's always people dressed up as Scooch.
See, this is where I got a bit confused again with this ranking, because personal taste-wise, I would rather listen to anything else than Scooch flying the flag. I also personally think it's a little bit tricky that it's the UK in particular sending a song with the lyrics "We're flying the flag all over the world." Because
I'd never considered
millions
that
of people that would really fucking agree with that. In terms of it being it's kind of a joke entry. It's very, very camp, and they obviously turned the volume up to 11 in terms of it just being cack, naff, funny, gay. It's so gay. These guys coming out in these flight attendant outfits, something to suck on for landing, sir. Da 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 da. It's not serious in any way at all. So if we're talking about let's just go full fun camp, it knows what it is, then yes, it does tick a lot of boxes and it has a lot of thought behind it. I just hate what it is.
I like I don't know if I like it. I respect this. I have a lot of respect for this.
Let's talk about you like it.
Because it's so
Shit like guys.
self-aware. It was the perfect version of what it was trying to be It was quite polished. I think the vocal was good, considering what it was. I think the vocal was good. The staging was good. The staging made sense. It was a novelty entry, which is frustrating because it's upsetting that year we decided not to properly compete. There have been entries in the past from other countries that have been more embarrassing than this, and they were really taking it seriously. I think these guys were just trying to have some fun, and it was fun.
Yes. Okay, there's a lot of interesting points there. Okay, James Fox, Hold On To Your Love, 2004.
It's the only time I've ever loved somebody, baby, in my life. We got
James Fox, what is he even called? This speaks to my
Hold
point
On To
here,
Your Love.
Is the only one that when I went through the Wikipedia to be like, let's start here, and then I went through and I was just like, just to remind myself of the chronological order. It was the only one that I could not even remember what it was. Don't remember how it goes. Even now, we've just watched it.
I don't remember it now.
Don't remember how it goes. I don't remember him. And
oh no, okay. So this was a naff but pleasant Ronan Keating style song.
Yeah, but wearing the most. I mean, like, 2004. It's hard to kind of in the context.
So this,
of the time.
I've personally just got smack bang in the middle. It's inoffensive. It's not competitive. He sang this nicely.
Insipid,
If this came on the radio, I wouldn't turn it off.
Really?
But it's not competitive. So this I had smack in the middle.
Felt kind of like a filler, like an album filler. You know, he just sort of stands there and plops it out. It's honestly like so sleep-inducing. There was nothing about this that my sentences just trailed off because I'm just so dead in the eyes. Andy Abraham, Even If
my heart was to break it, I could never break your heart too.
So this is a guy that was a runner-up on X Factor, something like that.
I think.
And I remember not liking this at the time, but again, it's probably that I was annoyed that it wasn't a winning song. Looking back, I actually don't think this is a terrible song. Again, a suit, we love sending suits and jackets. It's all very run-of-the-mill.
Really, really ugly suits.
Do you know what we have a real issue with? Okay, suits and leather jackets on men. Staging just in general. But there was this enormous run of songs where there would be some backing singers in the background just going da 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 da, and that is so unoriginal shit. And I understand that backing singers had to be live at a certain time, and now they're pre-recorded, so they don't have to be. But just the packaging of them up, just doing. It's just like so puts you to sleep. So this visually was just kind of like, oh, it's a bit of an eye roll.
The package made sense. Staging made sense. I found his dancing really awkward and weird. I just personally didn't like this. I also thought it was frustrating to send someone who can't even win a UK competition to compete in Europe.
He performed it well and he looked nice.
He did. It was a good vocal.
I think he was sort of gave a lovely charismatic performance, and I really think that song is catchier than maybe people gave it credit for. You'd have to weigh up what it was up against that year, but did that deserve last? I don't know, maybe not.
Even when the thunder and storm begins,
even if the world is burning.
Naff. It was naff.
I would rather go home with you.
That's nice.
What now?
Well, I've got 2019 next.
2019.
I feel like you probably want to have 2011 next.
Oh, I absolutely do. We're not having it that high. I'm sorry. I'm just going to bum rush you there. 2011, Blue, I Can.
Go on, you start.
I don't think they could. I honestly think that in terms of Scooch and Blue, this speaks a little bit more to just your personal taste, which is a little off, isn't it? I will say, okay, so Blue were known around Europe. They really did a push for this.
In their heyday, they were very successful.
It was going to be bigger than it was. The staging was a catastrophe. Yeah. It was so messy. The outfits, I thought, were awful, verging on grotesque.
The outfits looked like they were Magic Mike outfits. Like, you kept expecting them to tear away parts with Velcro. Like, it didn't
They looked kind of magician-y.
Yeah.
There was something in that area, a little bit Vegas. It just wasn't kind of tasteful.
It's because you're really flat-chested.
I found it really, really mind-boggling that this particular venue, I think, was one of the first venues that we had a massive LED screen. And instead of using this LED screen, the UK were like, hold up, we've got 4 piss tiny little ones that we can bring with us.
Hang on, yeah.
And let's just have their fucking faces on them.
Also, would you like to
in case
buy a watch?
anyone forgot? So the staging was so weird. It made it feel so much smaller and cheaper.
It was really clumsy looking because the outfits
felt
were all
ill-rehearsed.
a little different but kind of the same. It all just felt a bit disjointed. They weren't all perfectly in line with these dumb screens. If you're going to have these screens with them on it, why wasn't that like so slick that it was really impressive? All over the place. You also couldn't really hear them that well.
I wonder if there was a little bit of arrogance with this being an act that had toured quite a lot. I wonder if they really rehearsed as much as they should have done for this.
I would probably agree. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I bet you're right.
I put this high. Again, like, it's difficult because I think all of them are bad, really. This was a good song. Again, you disagree.
Yeah,
I think this was a really good song. I think this had so much potential. I think the vocals were mostly good. I think the vocals were good enough. They had similar problems to Mae Muller.
I was kind of rubbish.
In that this was a good act with a good song and we really fumbled it. The sound mixing was bad. We had the elements of greatness here and we fucked it.
Yeah.
That's why I got them higher, because I don't think it was their fault and I liked the song.
No, it could well have been their fault. And
Yeah, possibly.
If it sounded like a blue song, which I think it did sound like a blue song, in 2011, that means it was also dated. Okay, who's next?
I've got 2019.
It's bigger than us. It's bigger than everything we see.
Michael Rice. Okay, yes, fair enough. So he was on that one show where Davina De Campo was on it, and there's like 100 people. I don't know what it is, but anyway, he won it. So he's a good singer, and he gave a good vocal.
This was another
with another
Suri
leather jacket.
Case.
Oh.
This is another Suri case in that we've selected somebody and just left them to do
Send
their own
them out
thing
to
and not
pasture.
giving them any support whatsoever. Because this song was such an aff. It was like an AI written song.
It's bigger than us. Do-do-do.
There was a whole genre of music that was like pop idol, X Factor winning style songs, and this falls into that genre.
Our intro music, I'm going to do a little edit here. I always think of this song because to me it sounds like the music we use for our intro. Anyway, I'll put this up here. Now maybe Nova will agree with me, but again, guy in a leather jacket, standing there on his own, no staging at all, nothing going on, and he's singing a nice song, but it's
lovely,
not competitive.
lovely guy. I think it's upsetting because I feel like this probably really tarnished his career because you didn't really hear from him after this, and I think he had a lot of potential.
No, because people don't really like to touch them afterwards, do they? If they come last.
Which is it's unfortunate. Okay, so we're getting towards the top end now. I don't know what order you want to do this.
Who have you got left?
2005.
Yes. No, but she really is a slag though.
Javine is a slag.
So this is Javine with Touch My Fire. Javine is another reality show contestant.
No, she really is a slag though. I'm sorry.
Javine, I believe, just missed making Girls Aloud. Is that right?
There were 6 girls left and they picked the 5 white ones. I mean, no, I said the quiet part out loud.
Yeah. This was a song that I think was a really, really good choice. I think she looked great. Beyonce, Crazy in Love kind of dress. She danced her ass off throughout this. I think it was just packaged nicely. I think the problem was the song needed a little bit more time in the oven.
I think that people had a few issues with this in terms of it wasn't necessarily something you would expect from the UK. I think it sounded like something that we had produced to pander to other countries, like because of sonically it was very kind of Greek sound. Well, and also the Greek song that year that won was in the similar vein, similar kind of like look, similar sound, similar. Everything about it was similar, except the Greek one was obviously far superior, and I think maybe it kind of like cannibalized it, and that's why Javine didn't really get anything. There were a few interesting notes towards the end, but generally speaking,
I can forgive that when you're rolling around on the floor like she did, looking that great.
For 2005, if you also consider the sort of taste at the time and what was happening, this is not as terrible as I think I certainly thought it was, thinking back.
I think we were really having a go with this. I think the problem with the song is that it needed a little bit of a revamp because she comes in instantly.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh yeah!
And it's kind of one level throughout. It's just she's at a 10.
Don't you want to take me to the
Yeah,
floor?
she's at a 10 throughout, and she doesn't have any room to kind of like rest or grow, or it's not a very dynamic song.
Last year's Eurovision entry for this country.
Yeah, exactly. And look where that got her.
I don't know though, not terrible. You know, I can't remember where this placed, but I'm
Well,
sure
yeah, I've got it high.
she's probably got a few points.
It don't matter to me, Javine.
Oh, okay, I've never heard of her.
Okay, so we're now into the 4 songs that we actually would listen to. 4.
Out of 1,500.
Well, I don't even know about that.
Well,
What,
4.
2009 first?
My time, it's my time, and I'll stay.
Oh, I forgot about this one. Oh, fuck me. This one is high up because she had a great vocal and she came 5th.
It's strong there.
Really?
And again, whether we thought this entry was right or wrong for the competition, it was a very polished version of what it was trying to be.
Jade Ewan, it's my time, it's my time.
This, I'm not sure where she came from, but she ended up going to be part of the Sugar Babes for a brief time before they split up, which was weird. And this was a song that had a lot of buzz and promotion around it because it was written by Andrew Lloyd Webber. And he was on stage playing the piano alongside it. This was absolutely a musical theatre song. She looked stunning. She sang this very, very well. You either would love this or you don't. It was very like Disney movie credits song. This was maybe a little bit on the boring side.
I absolutely loathe this song. I think it is the dullest thing you will ever listen to, ever. And we've got Jerry Halliwell schizophrenic downstairs.
No rhythm.
I started watching Eurovision in 1998-9, somewhere around then, just after we had won for the last time. So seeing, okay, Jessica Garlick, 2002 was it? She came 3rd. But apart from that, you're spending year after year watching something that you don't like, nobody else likes, and it's just really like awful to see us constantly be down the bottom. This was the first year where it was like, oh my God, people are throwing points at this. And it was also the first year that I didn't get it. I was like, why are people voting for us this time? It should have been bottom like every other year. I just didn't really conceive what was happening. But Andrew Lloyd Webber might have been a large part of that because he was playing the piano, wasn't he? And people
This
knew
was
who he
also
was.
one of the few years, and I think we've done this recently very well, but this was one of the few years in recent history that we actually sent our act on a promo tour, really promoting this song internationally.
I'm not gonna let go of it. My time.
And I think that was very smart.
Yeah, but it's also kind of like the song that was cut from the Muppets Christmas Carol, When Love Is Gone.
Love is gone.
They're not asleep, ma'am. They're dead.
And if that was in a musical, I'd cut it out for time as well. Oh, it's just so slow and dirge. She was lovely. She sang it well.
Yeah.
A violinist lamped her in the face or in the microphone. You know, classic telly. I just hated that song. None of it was palatable to me. But then if we're talking about, okay, so the top 4.
This is our top 4, and these are artists that we liked. We think the songs were good.
And we would listen to these.
We still have criticisms for some of them, but like we got behind these acts and we supported these acts.
If we had YouTube on right now and it was cycling through Eurovision songs, if these 4 came on, I would listen to them. I would not skip. They're not skips. So Mae Muller, I wrote a song.
Instead I wrote a song about how you did me wrong. I could have cried at home and spent the night alone.
So it's the one we've just had. And yeah, I mean, in terms of turning around the fortunes of the UK from people who really support Eurovision and really go ham for it and they're happy to be there. So that would be Sam and Mae. She was such a good representative. First and foremost, excellent. And we really liked that song.
Really likeable, great song. Like the perfect song that we needed at the time. She's also a great artist who can sing live. She's an experienced live performer. She can sing live. Now, obviously, we're not stupid. We have eyes and ears, and we are aware that it was a bad performance on the night. I want to say for the record, you guys do fucking exaggerate how bad it was.
We
I
had
just want to say that.
researched her beforehand and we were very happy with her live without really considering the fact that she had never done choreo before. And
Or
that
dance
was
music, really.
Or this kind of music. It was very kind of slow. It was very,
R&B, soulful kind of stuff.
that she nailed. And it never really dawned on us that would really hinder her vocal ability on the night.
I was kind of rubbish.
And combine that with, she looked hot shit. But why they're all wearing office, like from the waist down.
Styling was not appropriate.
They're all in the office.
The song or the staging. Now, I really liked the staging. You didn't like the staging.
No, I thought it was weird that she was always so tiny, and I didn't really get it. I thought the whole thing seemed a bit disjointed. Why she was like at the office in an office.
I liked the staging. I would have preferred if we had some way of bringing more elements of the music video onto the stage. Maybe that could have been like a giant dollhouse prop or something. I imagine someone else already did that. I would have liked if we maybe like a giant car or like some kind of camera
There was
effect.
also another car. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, too many people are doing this already. I don't think her team helped her. This sound mixing
What?
did her no favours.
You couldn't hear her.
Obviously, she should be able to sing it live well regardless. However, there were other artists that year that sang just as bad, if not worse, that actually you could be fooled into thinking gave a better performance because their sound mixing was better. They had more playback in the backing vocals.
Lazara.
Their levels were better. I keep thinking of that twink in the pink.
Twink in pink.
Yeah, was that Denmark? Him. The sound mixing was on point. It was so good.
You couldn't hear her, and I'm wondering if maybe they just turned her down a bit. There was a lot of things working against the song. The song itself was not the problem. She also went last, which I don't care when people say that it's so great, we're closing the show. That's not good. People have already made up their mind by that point. They're fatigued. In my opinion, it's just as bad as going last.
I still think the concept was there. It was a good idea. I think she was the right artist. I think we just mishandled it. We're not under any illusions that she was better than she was, but I think also people give her an unnecessarily bad time.
We still follow May. We think she's the bee's knees.
I think her album was fantastic. Such a great album.
2014 is probably going to be our third place. I would agree with this. This was Molly, Children of the Universe.
Yeah.
Children of the universe, don't you know?
In my head, thinking back, she didn't sing this very well. But when we watched this, I was like, oh shit,
great.
that was good.
She has such a lovely tone to her voice. Almost nasal. She's got like a real power to her voice, which really is very like cuts through.
The song was also very anthemic, and it was really a sit up and listen kind of song. It was lovely to listen to.
That drum beat that grabbed your attention to start off with, and then it was kind of Florence and the Machine-esque, this aesthetic and sound. It was very dynamic. The verses were very quiet after grabbing your attention with the drums. Very gentle verse.
Yeah, there was
strings come into a big
troughs
chorus
and valleys and whatever. But again, she went last. Let's not forget that she went last. And the staging turned a song which could have been very Florence, could have been very youthful, Children of the Universe. And
the staging was almost There were elements where I feel like they kind of had some sort of idea because the graphics with like the kind of filigree details and that. Like,
was there a bit of almost like a tattoo,
like henna, like designs?
Yeah,
almost.
or what are they called? Like runes or something. There was something there that they could have worked with.
There was an idea that this video was a great video. We needed to inject more elements of the music video on stage. I think the styling was bad.
She had on an ASOS Luxe dress.
Sale starts Friday.
The styling was bad. I get what they were going for.
Very static.
I also think the only other criticism I can give is that she didn't look pleased with this. She looked like she was not having a good time, and I think that read
very wooden.
She looked unhappy.
But you had a great suggestion. Well, you said yesterday that if they put her in something super flowy,
chiffon,
chuck some wind at her, amped up the drama, so it wasn't just
give us more only teardrops visuals.
Yeah, that's what she should have done. I wonder though, that was the year after. So perhaps
but you could have done that and with a twist.
Yeah, maybe they didn't do that because
she could have kept the sandal. She didn't have to be barefoot.
Would have been a bit of a... People would have seen it as being copying. I don't know. Again, the song was great and she sang it well. It's just always a staging
She's
problem.
another one which is so unfortunate you don't hear from her anymore. And I think she was really talented.
That's such a
really
shame.
talented, and it was a good song. I would have listened to more of her music, 100%.
I think we're going to have a slight disagreement between the top two. Personal taste-wise, I would agree with what you're saying here, but if we're going to be ranking them...
I stand by mine. I think they gave a better vocal.
What?
Yeah.
So the last two, let's just talk about these as being like a joint number one.
Okay.
Sam Ryder, Spaceman 2022.
Okay, I've never heard of her.
Now, this was obviously, he will go down in history as being the one person who was almost solely responsible for turning the tides. In terms of the UK participating in Eurovision, he had the highest score that the UK's ever got.
Completely changing the UK's public perception of the competition.
That's the most
and
important
making
thing.
people care about this competition again and take it seriously again and not see it as a waste of money and a joke.
Which it is.
His staging was great. That never happens.
So good.
And I feel like, I don't know, if you're watching this for the first time and you don't know who we are, I feel like, yeah, it does sound like all we're doing is slagging and being very negative. But again,
we
if this was like...
We have sent shit, though.
If this was like France for the past 20 years, we would have a lot of praise and we'd be very, very positive and uplifting. It's just that they do suck.
This song I still think is just an okay song. I think Sam Ryder is what makes this song special. I think he sells the shit out of this. He's so charismatic. I think the styling for this was fantastic. His jumpsuit was beautiful and it was appropriate not only for the staging but for the song. The whole thing told a story.
Looked incredible, looked expensive, it was fitting for this, everything about it was great. He had his fucking long hair going.
We did a version of the song that had a little bit of a twist just for Eurovision, was not present in the studio cut, was not present in previous live performances, so there was something fresh and new.
Gave him a real
just for
vocal
Eurovision
moment
at the end
to do it. Like really, just if you're going to sing, you might as well just sing your ass off. He was encased in a big glowing kind of spaceship cage, kind of almost like a diamond upside down, and it opened out and it was just beautiful, and he had the twinkly lights behind him. It is just
this was so well known, people had already decided they were going to vote for it or not. I think this was one of his weaker vocals in the grand final. It was still a very, very, very good vocal, but for him personally, he had done this way better.
Because he'd sang it 100 times and he was a bit worn out.
So this wasn't his best vocal, but it didn't matter at that point.
I think that's a bit unfair. But in terms of the song itself, all right, so it does sound very, very British. It sounds more kind of like classic British rather than it being dated. There was something kind of more celebratory about it. But in terms of staging, the last 20 years, it's this. And it's also Lucy Jones' Never Give Up On You.
Give me your hand and hold on. Together we'll dance through this storm.
Which weirdly enough, when you think about it, not too dissimilar staging.
I put this just higher because I personally think on that particular performance, the grand final, her vocal was better. Also, I personally like the song more, but that's just personal taste.
So 2017 was the first year where we really wanted the UK to win, and that had never happened before. So that's the first year out of about 20 years at that point where we were like, oh my God, this song is so beautiful. Let's back this. We want her to win. And
I still think watching back,
exquisite.
I still think watching back, it deserves to win. I still think it was the best.
I think it was underappreciated in the it wasn't even top 10, and I think that is criminal.
Just friends running together.
I will say though, she is, she's a brilliant vocalist, but she's very
musical
theatre. She is theatre, and I think that is a problem people had with her because she was very kind of like.
Now you can see how far you've walked.
I just think that people had a problem with the way she kind of delivered it.
I
hate
couldn't
theatre.
fault it. I couldn't fault it. I would have liked to see her in a different dress if we're nitpicking. But the staging of this was incredible. It was so simple.
The dress looked cheap.
The stage pieces that we had, this mirrored sort of fan that reflected these golden sparkling lights, and the moment, the big crescendo of the song, we have all of these lights coming in like they're charging her with energy, and then as soon as it booms out, it explodes with light. It's beautiful.
I think you'd be hard pushed to find staging that was more elegant than that. you know.
Such thoughtful staging.
It's beautiful, it's timeless. It was gorgeous the way that there were these reflections of her above her. So there were kind of like two reflections either side of her head sort of trailing off. It was just so great. The dress though, I think, it looked a bit toga party.
Yeah. This was interesting as well because this is one of the few times that we did a revamp, and I think it was a really good
thank
revamp.
God though, that it was such a good revamp. You know, Lucy and Sam, are really up there.
I feel like Lucy deserves to be at the top purely because of how underrated she is. I think everybody expects to see Sam at the top.
Well, we will never give up on her. Just said that out loud. It's bad. Things are bad.
Where do you think Ollie Alexander's going to be?
I think Ollie Alexander's going to be comfortably in between Daz Sampson and Electro Velvet. I personally am not a huge fan of Ollie Alexander's music, but that's a personal thing. It's not anything other than, you know, he's obviously a wild talent and an excellent singer. And by the way, there's all this discourse about how he's a really on and off performer. I've only ever seen him sing well. I don't know where the people get this from.
There are so many performances of his online. You're bound to find some.
Well, can someone
with dodgy
please link us or
vocals.
comment down below with a specific performance where he's terrible so we can see what people are talking about?
I feel like for televised studio performances, actually on a TV show, he's always good. I like his music and he's a big Eurovision fan.
Yeah.
And I feel like writing a song specifically for Eurovision, I have faith that he knows what that requires.
Well, that's always a little bit
this
tricky.
This is going to be a good song.
But I think that he's going to carry on this spirit of let's try and do it, let's really go for it and celebrate, the UK at Eurovision rather than just dump on it. We just need him to be on the left side of the board. That's all we need. And I have every faith he can do that.
And then we can keep that trajectory.
That's all we need is to maintain a serious footing that people will vote for us and we are in this for to win and not just to sort of fanny around. And based on the hosting last year, I think, we're in a good position. Yeah, someone made a point online and they said that this is the first time that the UK have sent someone who is that current and that well known since like maybe Cliff Richard or something. Like it just doesn't happen.
This is not somebody who's had their heyday. They're having their heyday.
Because Mae Muller was kind of on the up and up. She was a new artist. Sam Ryder obviously had never really done anything. Equally talented, but this is someone
who's a very
who's
different approach. I can't wait to react to this. We'll be very, very honest.
And I reckon it'll be soon. It may even be this month. I don't think he can keep it in his pants. Listen, what did you think about that ranking? I feel like generally speaking, a lot of people are going to mostly agree with that. Apart from Lucy Jones. Lucy Jones was so divisive. Yeah. I don't know why. I don't get why.
No.
But anyway.
Let us know. If you didn't like her for some reason, please let us know.
And also, something to suck on for landing, madam. Feel free to subscribe because we're going to have a lot of Eurovision content coming up. We also have a Patreon where we have exclusive kek if you'd like to go over and have a look at that. There's the Discord you can join. We've got my podcast over there. There's all sorts of garbage. We also do Eurovision prediction videos solely on Patreon, and the address will be arriving on screen just presently, Nova, won't it?
Bye bye, baby. Lie to me, baby. Must have been crazy, baby. Bye.
Love's not enough. I need your trust.
Baby, bye bye.
That's not enough. Not anymore.
All right.
Hun, you still turn me on. Oh, what's that?
Is that the lyric?
Hun, you still turn me on.
Oh no.
Oh, hun.
Very British.
Oh.
Hun, you still turn me on.
What are we doing now? I can't remember.
Birthdays.
Oh yeah, some of those guys get birthday shout-outs, including Nova.
But not limited to.
For January 1st, it's Caitlin.
Happy birthday, Caitlin.
Caitlin. For the 3rd and 4th, Chloe and Creepy Boo.
Happy birthday, Chloe, and happy birthday, Creepy Boo.
Happy birthday.
For January 5th, it is Kristen's birthday. Happy birthday,
Kristen.
And January the 6th, it is Simple Dim's birthday.
Thank you so much. We've also got a Twitch. We haven't been... We're on our holiday period at the moment, aren't we?
Yes.
When do we return to Twitch? Very, very soon. You can have a look at our schedule over there. We like to play games, hanging out, playing games, having fun. Hun, you still turn me on. And that's probably where we're going to leave it just now. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks
Cheers
for coming.
then. Thank you. Bye. What did you learn at school today?
Oh no, it's awful.
I know. Hun, you still turn me on. to our brand new patrons, Dobby WTF, Devin Oliver, Erin Green, somebody called Tanner, St James, Maddie B, Fonda Dix, Brooks Rowland, Weaver Wills, Montgomery and Freya Shaw.
Are you going to be able to keep in that? It wasn't even a joke, was it? That comment I made about him. You're going to keep that in, you're going to edit it out.
What did you learn at school today? I don't know, the penal code. Join the Patron, we'll do a shot of Patron.